In the scorching heat of Helmand Province, Afghanistan, 23-year-old Marine Corporal Max Donahue took his next step forward, and in that single moment, everything changed. His partner detected at first a slight disturbance in the sand pattern, a scent invisible to human senses, a threat buried 18 inches below the surface. The German shepherd named Benny froze mid-stride, dropped into a sitting position, and locked his eyes on a spot 3 feet ahead. That IED, later confirmed to contain enough explosives to obliterate an entire squad, never detonated. 12 men went home to their families that night because of a 4-legged soldier who couldn't tell them he loved them, but showed it in the only way that mattered, by putting his life on the line without hesitation, without question, without a single moment of doubt. This is not a story about pets. This is not a tale of companionship in the comfortable sense we know it. This is the raw, unfiltered truth about the most extraordinary partnership ever forged in the furnace of war, where loyalty isn't just a word, it's the difference between life and death, and where the bond between handler and K9 transcends anything most of us will ever experience in our entire lives. The history of military working dogs stretches back thousands of years, from ancient Egyptian armies deploying mastiffs against enemy forces to Roman legions using ferocious war dogs as the first wave of terror in their conquests. But what we see today in modern warfare represents an evolution so profound, so sophisticated, that these K9 units have become absolutely indispensable to military operations worldwide. The transformation of a puppy into an elite military working dog is a journey that most people never witness, a process so intensive and demanding that only a small percentage of candidates ever make it through. These dogs are selected based on extraordinary drive, unshakable nerve, and an almost obsessive desire to work that borders on compulsion. They undergo thousands of hours of training in detection, apprehension, tracking, and search and rescue, learning to identify explosives, weapons, narcotics, and even human remains with accuracy that exceeds the most advanced technology we possess. But here's what makes this partnership truly unique. The handler isn't just a trainer or a master, they become something far more profound. During the selection and training process, handlers spend every waking moment with their K9 partners, learning to read the subtlest shift in body language, understanding what a particular ear twitch means, recognizing when their dog is alerting versus simply being curious. They eat together, sleep in the same quarters, train until both are physically exhausted, and gradually develop a communication so intuitive that it operates beyond words, beyond commands, entering a realm of pure instinctual understanding that can only be forged through absolute trust and countless shared experiences under pressure. The true test of this bond, however, comes when they deploy together into active combat zones where every mission could be their last. Take the story of Staff Sergeant Chris Duke and his Belgian Malinois, Sasha, who served together in Iraq's most dangerous territories during the height of insurgent activity. On a routine patrol through a village that intelligence suggested was clear, Sasha suddenly broke from formation, her entire body going rigid as she detected something the sophisticated scanning equipment had completely missed. Duke, trusting his partner's instincts over the technological reassurances, immediately called a halt to the advance and ordered his unit to fall back. Within seconds, Sasha had pinpointed not one but 3 daisy-chained IEDs that had been meticulously concealed beneath a layer of fresh asphalt, designed to detonate in sequence to maximize casualties when the convoy passed overhead. The bomb disposal team later confirmed that had the vehicles continued forward, the resulting explosion would have been catastrophic, likely killing or severely wounding everyone in the patrol. Duke credits Sasha with saving 27 lives that day, but what he remembers most vividly isn't the medals or the commendations. It's the way Sasha looked at him afterward, tail wagging, waiting for her reward toy, completely oblivious to the fact that she had just performed a miracle that sophisticated machines worth millions of dollars had failed to achieve. For these dogs, this isn't about glory or recognition. It's about the pure joy of doing the job they were born to do and pleasing the one person in the world who matters most to them, their handler. Then there are the search and rescue operations that showcase the truly extraordinary capabilities these K9 teams possess, capabilities that venture beyond detection and into the realm of finding the unfindable. When Private First Class Michael Thornton went missing during a firefight in the mountainous regions of Afghanistan, separated from his unit during a chaotic retreat under heavy enemy fire, the situation looked hopeless. The terrain was treacherous, visibility was near zero due to dust storms, and enemy forces controlled most of the area where he was believed to have gone down. Traditional search methods had failed for 6 agonizing hours when Handler Sergeant Lisa Morrison and her search and rescue dog, a determined Labrador named Titan, volunteered to go out despite the significant risks. Working in conditions that would have defeated most, Titan picked up a scent trail that seemed impossible given the wind patterns and time elapsed since Thornton's disappearance. For 3 hours, Morrison followed Titan through hostile territory, trusting completely in her partner's nose even when logic suggested the trail had gone cold. Finally, in a ravine that searchers had passed twice before, Titan found Thornton, unconscious, severely dehydrated, and suffering from a compound fracture, but alive. Morrison later said that she never doubted Titan for a single second, even when other searchers questioned whether they were wasting precious time. That absolute faith, that unwavering trust in her K-9 partner's abilities, made the difference between a rescue and a recovery mission, between a soldier going home to his family and a folded flag presented at a funeral. Combat tracking represents perhaps the most dangerous role these K-9 units undertake, requiring them to pursue armed enemy combatants through hostile terrain while remaining focused on the scent trail despite gunfire, explosions, and chaos erupting around them. Marine Corporal James Holland and his tracker dog Rex became legendary within their unit for their success rate in pursuing insurgents who had attacked coalition forces and then melted back into the civilian population. During one critical operation, after an IED strike killed 2 Marines and wounded 5 others, Rex picked up the scent of the triggerman who had fled into a densely populated urban area. Holland released Rex to track, following close behind as his partner navigated through a labyrinth of alleyways, market stalls, and residential compounds with singular focus. The pursuit lasted 45 minutes through incredibly complex terrain where the insurgent had clearly attempted every evasion technique possible, crossing water, moving through areas with strong competing scents, even attempting to mask his trail with diesel fuel. None of it worked. Rex's nose, honed through thousands of training hours and real-world operations, stayed locked on target until he cornered the suspect in a compound nearly 2 miles from the attack site. The insurgents' capture led to intelligence that disrupted an entire bombing network and potentially saved dozens of future casualties. Holland, when interviewed later, spoke about the moment Rex made the final identification with a pride that transcended typical handler satisfaction. It was the pride of a partner who had just watched his teammate perform at the absolute peak of their abilities under the most demanding circumstances imaginable. But behind these heroic stories lies a darker reality that the public rarely sees, the devastating physical and psychological toll that combat takes on these K-9 warriors. Military working dogs suffer injuries at rates comparable to human soldiers, experiencing everything from shrapnel wounds and bullet injuries to traumatic brain injuries from IED blasts. Handler Sergeant First Class Robert Chin still carries the guilt from the day his explosive detection dog, Kilo, took the brunt of an IED blast that Kilo had been investigating when it detonated prematurely. Kilo survived, but lost his right front leg and suffered severe burns across 30% of his body. Chun sat vigil at the veterinary hospital for 72 hours straight, refusing to leave Kilo's side, watching his partner fight through infection, pain, and the confusion of recovery. The psychological wounds often cut even deeper than the physical ones. Dogs who have served in combat zones can develop canine PTSD, showing symptoms remarkably similar to their human counterparts: hypervigilance, startle responses to loud noises, difficulty sleeping, and sometimes aggression born from trauma rather than training. These dogs who once lived for their work sometimes return unable to perform their duties, their spirits broken by experiences that no amount of training could prepare them for. The handlers themselves carry burdens that civilians struggle to comprehend, a unique form of grief that comes from losing not just a fellow soldier, but a partner with whom they shared a bond unlike any other relationship in their lives. When Marine handler Corporal Sarah Mitchell's IED detection dog, Havoc, was killed during a patrol when an insurgent detonated a suicide vest, Mitchell described the loss as more devastating than anything she had experienced in her entire military career. Havoc had died doing exactly what he was trained to do, positioning himself between the threat and his handler, but that knowledge provided no comfort. Mitchell struggled with survivor's guilt, replaying the incident endlessly, wondering if there was something she could have done differently, some command she could have given that might have changed the outcome. The military provides resources for handlers dealing with such losses, but the reality is that most people outside the K9 community simply cannot understand the depth of this particular grief. These handlers didn't just lose a working animal. They lost their best friend, their protector, their constant companion who had shared their most terrifying and triumphant moments. The empty kennel, the unused leash, the toy that will never be thrown again. These become unbearable reminders of an absence that feels impossible to fill. Reintegration into civilian life presents challenges that catch many handlers completely off guard, even those who thought they were prepared for the transition. Veteran handler Marcus Thompson struggled for years after returning home with his retired K9 partner, Bruno. In combat, their roles had been crystal clear. Thompson commanded, Bruno executed, and together they saved lives daily. Back in suburban America, Thompson found himself adrift, unable to shake the feeling that he and Bruno should still be working, still be making a difference. Bruno, retired from active duty but still possessing all the drive and energy that made him an exceptional military working dog, struggled with the sudden absence of purpose. Thompson watched his partner deteriorate emotionally, pacing constantly, showing signs of anxiety and depression that broke his heart. It took connecting with other retired handlers and their K9s, finding a community that understood exactly what they were experiencing, before Thompson and Bruno began to find their footing in this strange new world where the stakes felt meaninglessly low compared to what they had faced together overseas. Yet within these struggles, beautiful stories of renewal and redemption emerge, proving that the bond between handler and K9 extends far beyond their military service. When Army Sergeant Nicole Rodriguez retired her explosives detection dog, Sheba, she made it her personal mission to ensure Sheba's golden years would be filled with the peace and comfort she had earned through her service. Rodriguez adopted Sheba through the military working dog adoption program, bringing her home to Colorado where the former war dog discovered snow for the first time, chasing snowflakes with the pure joy of a puppy despite being 9 years old. Rodriguez documented Sheba's transition on social media, sharing moments of her former warrior learning to just be a dog, playing with toys without a mission objective, sleeping on a soft bed instead of a kennel floor, receiving treats simply because she existed rather than as a reward for detecting threats. The transformation was profound, and Rodriguez noted that watching Sheba relax, watching the constant vigilance slowly fade from her eyes, provided a healing that Rodriguez herself desperately needed. They had gone to war together, and now they were learning peace together, each helping the other navigate this new chapter. Organizations dedicated to supporting retired military working dogs have emerged across the nation, recognizing that these animals deserve far more than simply being discarded after their service ends. Mission K9 Rescue, Guardians of Rescue, and the United States War Dogs Association work tirelessly to ensure retired K9s receive proper veterinary care, find loving homes, and live out their remaining years with dignity. These foundations also provide support networks for handlers, connecting them with others who understand the unique challenges of transitioning from active duty K9 handler to civilian life. The work extends beyond simple adoption services. Many organizations fund expensive medical treatments for retired K9s suffering from service-related injuries, provide specialized training for dogs dealing with PTSD, and offer financial assistance to handlers who want to adopt their former partners but struggle with the costs of caring for a dog with significant medical needs. The legacy of these partnerships extends into civilian applications in ways that continue to save lives daily. The training methodologies developed for military K9s have revolutionized civilian search and rescue operations, with techniques pioneered in combat zones now being applied to disaster relief, missing person cases, and even early cancer detection. Therapy dog programs for veterans suffering from PTSD often utilize dogs who failed military working dog training not because they lacked ability, but because they possessed too much empathy, too much emotional sensitivity, traits that make them perfect for therapeutic work. The lessons learned from handler, K9 communication in high-stress environments have informed everything from police K9 training to service dog programs for individuals with disabilities. Memorials across the country now stand as permanent testaments to the sacrifices made by military working dogs and their handlers, ensuring their stories will never be forgotten. The United States War Dogs Memorial at the Naval Base in New Jersey features a bronze statue of a handler and his dog, frozen in a moment of mutual trust and absolute partnership. The inscription reads simply, "Guardians of the Night." But those 3 words carry the weight of countless missions, innumerable lives saved, and bonds forged in circumstances most of us will never experience. Every year, handlers gather at these memorials to honor fallen K9s, sharing stories that keep the memories alive, ensuring that Lex and Rex and Bruno and Sasha and thousands of others who served with courage beyond measure are never reduced to statistics or forgotten footnotes in military history. The impact these partnerships have had on military strategy cannot be overstated. Modern combat operations now consider K9 teams as essential as any technological asset, their capabilities integrated into mission planning at the highest levels. More importantly, the presence of K9 teams has been shown to significantly boost morale among troops, providing not just tactical advantages, but also psychological benefits that ripple through entire units. There's something fundamentally human about the relationship between soldier and dog, something that reminds warriors of home, of innocence, of loyalty untainted by politics or ideology. In the darkest moments of deployment, watching a handler interact with their K9 partner, seeing genuine affection, playfulness, and uncomplicated devotion, reminds everyone present what they're fighting for, what they're trying to protect. As we close this exploration of the Silent Sentinels who have served with such distinction, one truth emerges with absolute clarity. The bond between military working dog handlers and their K9 partners represents something profound about the human spirit and our capacity for connection even in the midst of horror. These stories are not simply tales of well-trained animals performing tasks. They are testaments to love expressed through loyalty, courage manifested through unwavering devotion, and sacrifice made without hesitation or expectation of recognition. Every handler who has served with a K9 partner knows a truth that transcends words, that in those moments when everything hangs in the balance, when death lurks unseen, when fear threatens to overwhelm, the silent presence of that four-legged warrior becomes more than companionship. It becomes salvation, purpose, and proof that even in war's darkest hours, the bond between human and dog remains unbreakable, untarnished, and absolutely sacred. These are the Silent Sentinels, and their stories deserve to be told, remembered, and honored for generations to come.